it's the first time I heard Nikki do this live, because she does live calling sessions. I was completely blown away. I couldn't believe how great she was. So ever since then, we've worked with her. And so we want to be able to share that with you guys all today as well. So without further ado, I'm recording this session just so everybody knows we are going to have a replay of it at the end. Nikki has a whole agenda for us today, and we're just going to get started as people come in. I'm just going to continue to add people in, so you may hear a ding here and there, but I'm just going to turn things over to Nikki and let her do her thing. So Nikki, welcome everybody. This is Nikki Pais, the conversion coach specialist that we promised everybody. So Nikki, you take it away.
All right. First of all, I'm going to ask y'all for a favor before we begin. As we go through today, this will only be as useful as you make it, which means instead of being on your phone and instead of emailing others back and instead of half attention, I'm going to ask for your full attention for the next hour, and I will make it worth your while. That being said, I'm going to start by telling you this. Knowledge is not power. That's what you've been told your whole lives. But knowledge alone does nothing. It is the application that is what changes your outcome. You can have all of the knowledge by yourself, and without using anything that you heard, you'll be in the same place. I can tell you for sure, the reason that Ken and I get along so well is because we continue to learn, but we are the type to implement. And for many of us, the mistake is that we're looking for the master next step without ever mastering the elementary steps. So before we look for the next thing, I'm always going to encourage you. The ability to implement what you hear is going to be what separates the individuals in this room. Okay? That being said, I'm going to encourage you to take notes along the way. If we have time at the end, then I'm going to be all too happy to answer y'all's questions. Let's get into it. Okay? Now, to start with, we're going to start with the way we master our conversations with our buyers. And with your buyers, the introduction is what is the first impression on your leads. Most importantly, you and your leads have one thing in common. Your brain is hardwired to take shortcuts. We do not have the ability to think fresh with every person. We don't have the capacity to start over. So our brain is quickly trying to make decisions with every person that we meet. Your leads are the same way. And it starts in your introduction. This is the introduction I recommend that we say every time with our buyers, and it goes like this. Hey, Ken. And notice that isn't a question. You're always going to assume you're on the phone with the right person. Hey, Ken, this is Nikki out in Myrtle Beach. How are you? Now let's break that down. Would you ever call a friend of yours or your sister or your mother or your dad and say, hi, is this mom? We would never. We would automatically say, hey, mom, and we'd move right into why we're talking. That sense of familiarity is going to keep more people on the phone, because if you're wrong, they're going to tell you anyway. But the moment you start with, hi, is this Ken, gives them the chance to say no, because after all, they know that you don't know the answer for certain. You'll notice we did not say the brokerage name. We purposefully do not say the brokerage name because your brand is not as easily identifiable as your area. It is quicker for them to determine what area you are in because we don't have a brand like Apple or Google where it quickly is something that people recognize. So we're avoiding objections. And then we say, how are you? Now, some of you might be thinking, I don't know about that, Nikki. I've heard plenty of times that how are you is an outdated sales technique. And I'm going to remind you, do people only move for happy reasons? Yes or no? No, of course not. They move for divorce. They move for loss of loved ones. They move for grief. And since we know that, we say, how are you? Because it's a temperature check. You're more likely to secure more leads than to miss them. And I'm going to tell you how we handle each client type. You have somebody who is miserable. These are the people who say, I've been better. I have a lot going on right now. Those people, you're going to stop and you're going to immediately address it. And you're going to say, oh my gosh, what's going on? Do not make the rookie sales mistake of saying, okay, well, the reason I'm calling, that's how we get hung up on. We're going to acknowledge it from the beginning. The second possibility is that you have someone who is rude. Great news. Rude people also buy homes. So if someone is rude and says something like, yeah, I'm fine, what's this about? You're going to move right into the next portion of your conversation. And of course, our best case scenario is that someone is kind. I'm good. How are you? We always match that same energy. I'm also good. Thank you for asking. Here is what we transition into. Yes, I am the one who's been sending you listings. I'm double checking to see, are you still looking? And I'm going to repeat that again. Yes, I am the one who's been sending you listings. I'm double checking to see, are you still looking? Notice what we didn't do there. What we didn't do was tell any lead what they did. Because by doing so, that's how people fight. How many times have you heard someone say, no, I didn't sign up? And that's because we told them so. So we're going to stop saying that altogether, because now we're fighting 10 seconds in a call, and you're going to claim ownership and responsibility. Yes, I am the one who's been sending you properties. I am the one who's been sending you listings. I'm double checking to see, are you still looking? Okay. Now, in a whole different session, we have the ability to master our objections, and I will tell you why. Do you think that any of your leads right now are in a Zoom practicing how they can perfect their objections and make them harder on you? Of course not. But you have the ability to hone in on what you're going to say, since for the rest of your real estate career, you're going to hear the same things over and over again. The least we can do is master our words so we know where we're headed, which brings us into the rest of our conversation. Please write this down as your note. I need to ask 4 criteria questions before I ever ask for price. I need to ask 4 criteria questions before I ever ask for price. Here are the 4 criteria questions I recommend. Number 1, are you looking for an investment property or a place for yourself? Because that's going to drastically change my line of questioning. Next, I'm going to ask, are you exclusively looking here in XYZ area, or are you open to nearby areas as well? Next, I'm going to ask how many bedrooms and bathrooms they're looking for. And finally, I'm going to ask about the property type. I'm going to say, okay, are we exclusively looking at single family homes, or are we open to other property types as well? But remember, our rule is that we have to ask 4 criteria questions, which means if somebody tells you those answers ahead of time, you hear leads do that. They say, I'm looking for a 3-bed, 2-bath, single family home. If you have that, you can send it to me. Great. I still need to ask more things before I ever ask for a price. So I'll ask extra questions. Okay, doesn't matter if it's a 1-story or a 2-story. All right, what's the maximum HOA that I should be mindful of? But no matter what, I'm asking 4 criteria questions before I ever ask for price. Here is how we ask for price. Ballpark. What sort of price range are you looking at? And I want y'all to notice I did not have an upswing on my voice. You didn't hear me say, okay, what sort of price are we looking at? That makes you sound like the front desk receptionist. It's not sincere. And guess what, y'all? That cheating that we talked about, where the brain is trying to take shortcuts, the shortcut says that lies come to us in upswings and that truths are told to us in downswings. When someone says, no, it wasn't me, I didn't touch it. Versus someone who says, I have something that I need to tell you. We know that truths are delivered in lower tones. So you intentionally deliver your questions with lower tones, because that is what has been ingrained in us historically. We trust lower tones to be sincere. And people are more skeptical of higher tones. That's the sales thing. That's the lie thing. Okay. So we said ballpark, what sort of price range are you looking at? You cannot move on without price. You cannot, not in a lead generation call, because the difference between 300,000 and 1.3 million is drastic, and responses can sound the same. Money's no problem. I'm sure we'll get pre-approved. Let's leave it open for now. None of that helps you. So you're going to have this question in your back pocket to ensure that you uncover the price. It goes like this. I don't want to overwhelm you with tons of results that don't apply to you. What would you say is the absolute maximum in any scenario that you'd ever consider? And I'll repeat it again. I don't want to overwhelm you with tons of results that don't apply to you. What would you say is the absolute maximum in any scenario that you'd ever consider? Do not make the mistake of jumping right into that question. Okay? If you do so, you lose your backup. We purposefully save that as our secondary follow-up for price. Now I'm going to tell y'all something. Even the best in the business, every so often get off the call without price because we don't have a structure. We know what we're supposed to get, but we break our pattern of how we ask and we miss out on key information. Okay. Now in all of my time in lead generation, y'all, that question one time, only once, did not give me an answer. And the one time it did not give me an answer, the person was renting, which brings you to your third and final price question. Sometimes this can be easier to think of in terms of monthly payments. What sort of monthly payment would you be comfortable with? After that, we go to motivation. For motivation, for each of you here, I'm going to make a brief intermission to tell you this, and then we're going to go back to taking our notes. Do you know what's most important to your lead? Their own reasoning. Do you know what's most important to you? Whether they have the money to do so and when they want to do it. You want to know about their money, you want to know about their timeline. But for your lead, the exact opposite is their priority. It's their motivation and what they're looking for, what they want and why they want it. So you purposefully structure the conversation for your lead to live in their own self-importance by discovering criteria, then motivation, and then timeline and finances will always be the last portions of conversations. Okay? That being said, for motivation, your rule is this: you need to live in motivation for a minimum of 2 minutes. A minimum of 2 minutes. Here are the 4 questions that you can ask during this stage. The first one is this: I haven't asked you the most important question yet. Of all the reasons for you to make a move, what is it that has you looking in the first place? Don't change a single word from that sentence. Do you know what happens when you say, why do you want to move? Sometimes they continue to tell you criteria. Well, what has you looking to move? And they say, yeah, we're really wanting an XYZ house. It's because of how you proposed the question. So I'm going to repeat this one word for word. Don't change anything about it. I haven't asked you the most important question yet. Of all of the reasons, that's the thing that's gently tapping them on the right side of the brain to start to transition into creative responses. Of all the reasons for you to make a move, what is it that has you looking in the first place? Question 2. Between life right now and after you've made this move, what in life do you want to be different? Between life right now and after you've made this move, what in life do you want to be different? Question 3. Between life right now and after you've made this move, what in life do you want to be the same? And this is your 4th question, but then I'm going to give you a hack. Your 4th question is this: after you've made this move, day in and day out, what's the vision? What does life look like? Some of you, I know you feel uncomfortable because it feels like you're asking something personal, but I'm going to give you a very transparent reminder. If you get off of the phone and what you have uncovered is their criteria and their timeline, you are the equivalent of the website. The website allows for them to check off all of those things. The human-to-human relationship that ties them to want to work with you is how much they reveal about themselves. The more that they have divulged, the more likely they are not to want to start over with someone else because you already understand their circumstance. That's when you hear your leads say, yeah, I'm already working with somebody. Yeah, no, I don't want to talk to anybody else because that person is already one of their teammates. So live in the motivation because that is what's going to keep them attached to you. Now, the fifth question for motivation would be to say, may I ask, is there anybody else making this move with you? Here is your hack, though. You might not love these exact questions, and that's okay. The first one, no matter what, keep it the same. But here is what you need to know. You take any word or series of words that they say, and you use it to build your next question. Which means if Ken tells me I'm looking to downsize, I'm not there yet, and that's not going to get me to 2 minutes. So instead, I'm going to use his word and say, okay, what is it that's important to you about downsizing? Well, the thing is that I don't really go up the stairs anymore. It's not comfortable for me. I understand. So once you have everything on one story, what's going to be easier overall? Okay, great. And we continue to use his words, his reasoning to uncover more information. I'm moving because my kids left the house. Okay, how long ago did your kids leave the house? 4 years ago. All right. And since 4 years ago, how often are they coming home now? That's how you find out somebody's true understanding of their life. Okay. If you take away anything from today, my goal for you will be to recommit to someone else's vision. And that is always located in their motivation, whether that is pain or pleasure. Okay. Let's move on to the next section. The next section is timeline. These 3 questions work like a charm. Now, every new agent who barely got a license is asking the first question. They're all saying, okay, if everything goes according to plan, when would you be moved into this next home buy? The mistake that every new agent is making is that they accept the answer the first time that they hear it. They hear it and they say, you said 2 years, which means it must be 2 years. I'll continue to check in with you as we get closer. And they're shocked when they call next year and the person has already closed on a home. So we're going to be better than every single person who's new with a license. And we're always going to ask this second question. The second question is to say, okay, may I ask what has you waiting? No matter what the timeline is. Someone can tell me they're 3 or 4 months out, and I'll say, beautiful. May I ask what has you waiting? This third question is what separates the pros from the middle tier of agents. Because sometimes what happens is you hear something convincing. They say they're waiting on retirement. And by hearing that, you say, well, it makes sense to me. And so you accept it. But it is not up to you to determine if retirement means there's no wiggle room, which brings us to our third and final question. Devil's advocate. I'm going to say this one twice. It's wordy. It works like a charm all the time. Devil's advocate. Let's say that I find you A, and you're going to repeat the criteria. You'll never say perfect home or dream home because that doesn't mean anything to them. That doesn't register with them the way redescribing what their dream home looks like. Devil's advocate, let's say that I find you this 3-bed, 2-bath home. It has no carpet in the home just like you wanted and a backyard for your dogs, which allows you to, and you're going to repeat their motivation, which allows you to have less of a commute time, giving you 6 hours back at home every week, which allows you to get your kids in the school district that you want to get them to, which allows you to start this new chapter of your life as you build your family. Whatever their words are, now don't make the mistake of putting your own reasoning. If someone tells you they don't want to rent because they hate their landlord, don't go telling them this way you build generational wealth. That's your words. That is not their words. So use their words and say, this way, we get you away from that landlord that you hate. And let's say it shows up in January. I always say the month that is 3 months from now. If they've already told me 3 months is their timeline, I say, let's say it shows up in December, and I say 1 month sooner. Okay. And it's the place that you want to call home. Would you want to make a move on it, or would you say 100%? That's too soon. Every answer that is not 100%, it's too soon, for you is going to mean I should treat this lead like a 3-month timeline. Anybody who says, well, maybe if the house was perfect, it'd have to be something, it depends, we'll never say never. Any sort of response that is not, no, it's 100% too soon, you're going to start following up with them as though they're going to do something in 90 days. Okay? And we purposefully always say the month. We never say 90 days because the month allows them to picture holidays, anniversaries, birthdays, vacations. So we want them to envision what that feels like. All right? Now, I can't see all of you so far, but can you give me a thumbs up if you're with me? Okay. Now, a note before we move from here. Here is your note. A script is a safety net. It should not box you in. If somebody tells me, hey, I have 3 dogs moving with me, I don't say, all right, and how many bedrooms and bathrooms are you looking for? That's going to make me sound like a robot. So I'm going to go off script. We're going to talk about what type of dogs do you have? What are their names? Oh my God, so cute. So tell me, how many bedrooms and bathrooms are we looking for you and the 3 dogs? And we're going to use it to navigate back. A script is merely a safety net so that no matter where your lead goes, you know where you're headed. Here is the second note there. If your lead starts the conversation in motivation, you're going to live there first. Don't leave here saying, well, Nikki said it had to be criteria. Motivation is just fine. We can start in motivation and go to criteria afterwards. However, if your lead starts in timeline, we're always going to ignore it. You're waiting for 3 years? Perfect. I'll continue to send you properties as we get closer. May as well get you a list that's worth dreaming over so you can see how things are looking. Tell me, and I'm going to move right into criteria. We're going to move into motivation after, and we're going to see if that timeline is more flexible last. But rain, shine, sleet, or hail, timeline is last. Okay? Here are your pro tips to making that script not feel so stale. Ready? Pro tip number 1, your transitional statements sell you. Did you hear the difference between 3 beds and 3 baths versus tying in what they voiced? Here are a couple of key transitional phrases that work. I hear you. Okay, I'll keep that top of mind. That sounds really important to you. You speak my language. Those sorts of phrases help to keep someone close to you and continue moving the conversation. Here is your next note. If someone gets off the phone, did you do anything that would make them remember you? Analyze in your head the last 10 calls you had, how many you even remember, and then how many do you think would remember you? Here is the important part of that. You know the easy way to get someone to remember you? You have to say some things about yourself. So here is your rule of thumb. Every 3 questions, you say something personal. Every 3 questions, you say something personal. And y'all, just like when you go, quote unquote, for an interview, in an interview, you have a couple of key stories that are your backups that you can defer to at any time. It's the same thing on this personal side. You have a couple of key stories, a couple of things having to do with property that align with you for you to be able to voice. That's going to make it easier on you. In addition, we're going to stop to the best of our ability saying the word I, and we're going to start saying you. Here is the difference. I really think that you should be looking in XYZ area because I have had a lot of people who like it out there. And so I think, there's no reasoning attached to the person. If you do that same setup with the pronoun you, it's different. You might want to consider XYZ area. Other clients like you have also enjoyed XYZ amenities, and you may find that XYZ is what you expected. If you eliminate the word I, everything feels more client focused to the best of your ability. Do you know where we say the word I the most? Around our appointments. We overuse the word I. When during the appointment, which is your most important time, we should be saying you. Okay? As a friendly reminder, I heard Alex Shepblack say this once, and it has stuck with me ever since. Information without a story is forgettable. Information with a story is unforgettable. The reason that I am so hyper-focused on how are you at the beginning is because I've got my ass chewed out on the phone multiple times. I've had multiple people in my early lead generation time telling me, you have no idea what I'm going through. Take me off your list. I never work with someone like you, because I was ignoring what they were delivering at the beginning. And I've not had one person respond to me like that since I've started addressing temperature checks. And you know as well as I do, real estate being the largest transaction of many people's lives, the sort of emotions tied in probate, the sort of emotions that are tied going through divorce, the sort of emotions as they have to find a home separate from their family that they previously had, those are major life decisions that you're assisting with. And if you do not allow the sincerity and the weight of what they are doing, they can choose someone else. They have the pick of the litter for who they want to work with. But all the time, people don't choose the smartest one to work with. They choose who they like. Which brings us to our next section. When we are in our discovery phase, you ask open questions so that they can feel. When you switch to appointments, you ask close-ended questions to close. This is the easiest trick. Open-ended for discovery, close-ended for closing. I'm going to tell you the perfect buyer appointment ask. It starts with our open question for discovery. This is our question every single time on the appointment. We say, is there anything else that we haven't covered today that we should have? Those of you that are taking notes, that's the area to start on. Is there anything else that we haven't covered today that we should have? Because if you have a brand new objection during your appointment ask that you haven't uncovered, that's going to disrupt the amount of times that you can ask for the appointment. So you want to hear if there is information that you're missing before you continue on with your ask. If they say, yeah, I forgot to mention that, my husband isn't on board with this yet. The thing is that my daughter is the one who's going to be doing a lot of the looking with me, paperwork with me. Whatever the things are that you could possibly uncover, that's what we're asking for. Is there anything else we haven't covered today that we should have? And if you get a no, then we move into the appointment ask. The perfect appointment ask sounds like this. Are you ready? Thumbs up that you're with me. We're moving at the speed of light, y'all. Okay? Here's how it goes. All right. Whenever we start to see homes that are worth taking a look at in person, are typically weekdays or weekends going to be better for you? Notice that is a future pacing for availability. They don't even realize they're telling you the appointment time. Whenever we do start to see homes that are worth taking a look at in person, are typically weekdays or weekends going to be better for you? Beautiful. And are mornings or evenings typically best? Now, we're not going to take a shot in the dark and say, well, I'm free at 3 o'clock today or 5 o'clock tomorrow. We're going to find out from them what their free time is. Okay? After you've uncovered those two questions, we say this. All right, the natural next step is for us to meet in person. The natural next step is for us to meet in person. And before you know it, you're going to repeat their motivation here. Before you know it, you'll insert motivation here. There is a little bit of chaos that happens in each of us when someone recommends as a stranger meeting when you don't know each other. So to say the natural next step is for us to meet in person is to bring a little bit of hesitation. It's only natural. And the fastest way to calm that is with their own reasoning. People hate to experience dissonance. And so to disagree with themselves would be to say, even though I just voiced the motivation was my reason, I'm saying no to the thing that gets me closer. That's the shortcut. That's why you're more likely to get yeses by revoicing the motivation in the appointment. The natural next step is for us to meet in person. This way, you can get closer to your grandkids. This way, you can find a home that no longer feels like you're on top of each other. Now, here's how we go for our final close. This sentence, you can maneuver a little bit. It sounds like this. What I'd like to do is meet you over a cup of coffee. If you meet in office, you'd say that. What I'd like to do is to meet you here in our office. This way, whenever the right property comes up, we both know what it looks like. How would this Saturday at 10 a.m. work for you? And you're using their availability. Now, here's the tweaking part. You can change the ask and you can change the value add to whatever suits you, but don't over-explain. Every single person knows they're going to meet with a realtor at one point. You don't have to over-explain the purpose. It is intuitively a part of the process. So you can say something like, what I'd like for us to do is meet over a cup of coffee. This way, we can start, because I tell people all the time, this is the sort of process someone can start too late. There's no such thing as starting too early. How would this Saturday, say 10 a.m., work for you? But you're always going to use their availability for them. All right? Now, you may do this appointment ask perfectly, and you're going to feel so cool on the inside because you nailed it, and you still might get a no. And if you get a no, this is how we work around it. When someone says no, the mistake is to immediately re-ask. And I hear it all the time. An agent says, well, but we really should meet because that's the mistake. The pros drop the appointment ask altogether, and you go back into question asking mode. The easiest way to do that is to go back into motivation. Okay, so you wanted to be closer to family, is that right? Notice we've dropped the appointment ask. Yes. Okay, and how often do you see them as of now? I see them once or twice a year. Okay, and if you move out here, how often do you see them then? Well, I'd like to see them every week. Okay, beautiful. Who all is out here? Grandparents, uncle, cousins, aunts. Great. Okay, so tell me this. Let's say that a year goes by, maybe even 2, and in that amount of time, you've seen them 4 times instead of 104 different instances you could have had with them. Is there any chance that you look back and wish you would have made that move sooner? You tell me. Well, when you put it like that, well, yes, obviously. Well, I never thought about that. Well, that'd be ideal. I just have to figure out blank. Beautiful. And here's your transitional phrase. See, this is exactly why we should meet. That's how you go back into the appointment ask. You know what's nice about that transitional phrase? Someone can give you an objection and it still works. We're really worried about prices. Okay, so it sounds like you want to be comfortable with how prices look before you make the move. Is that right? Yes. So we really need to time the market and make sure that it makes sense. Is that right? Yes. Perfect. See, this is exactly why we should meet. See, this is exactly why we should meet is how we get back into our appointment ask. I recommend the pencil pen expression. It sounds like this for your second ask. It sounds like, well, what I'd like to do then is for us to pencil a time in, let's say tomorrow at 5 p.m. This way, we have something down, but even if something comes up, I'm going to check with you as we get closer, and no worries, it's in pencil. It's not in pen, which means I can erase it easily and we can move it. But this will be that first step for us to remove all of the mysteries associated with this process and make it a little easier when the right time comes along. How would so-and-so at so-and-so time work for you? Okay. This is my general rule of thumb. I don't like to ask for the same ask more than twice. That's my rule. I've seen people do it and they ask 3, 4, 5 times, they get a yes. I just rarely see where that actually results in someone meeting with you. So if I've gotten a no twice to meeting in person, I switch to the next option, meeting for Zoom. Can't do a Zoom. Okay, what would it look like for a FaceTime? Can't do a FaceTime. Okay, what does it look like for our next call? Okay, next call, and then I try again to reset an appointment. But that is my general rule of thumb in order of priority. Yes? Okay. Let's keep it moving. Now, we're about 3/4 of the way through. I'm going to ask for one little favor in between. I want all of you to put your arms up. Every single one of you. Every single one of you. Arms up and wave your arms. Let some energy into your body. We are mastering our buyer conversion. Yes, it's good to be here. Okay, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. Let's keep it rolling. Now, here is what we're going to do next. This part is going to be a little different than what you expected, but you're actually going to take a test. Okay. The next step is showing property. This is going to be 8 questions long. I want you to write down your answer. Every single one of them. Write down your answer. Okay. Great news. There's no report card at the end. All right. Some of them are going to be multiple choice. Some of them are going to be fill in the blank. But I'm going to start with number 1 and I'll read every single thing twice. Ready? What is the first step before you show homes? Is it A, verify pre-approval or funds for purchase? Is it B, pick out the homes? Is it C, schedule the showings? D, set expectations? Or E, verify funds for purchase and pick out homes? Again, you're writing down your own answers. And at the end, we're going to review. Again, this is all for showing property. I'll read it again. What's the first step before you show homes? Is it verifying pre-approval or funds for purchase? A. Or B, pick out homes? C, schedule the showings? D, set expectations? Or E, verify funds for purchase and pick out homes? Let's go to number 2. This one is a fill in the blank. What are the 3 options for your client for every home that you show? Again, what are the 3 options for your client for every home that you show? And I'm going to need thumbs up when you've got your answer down, and leave your thumb up so I can see. Only see 4. Beautiful. Okay. Let's keep moving. Let's go to the next one. Number 3. And for this one, I want you to write down your entire answer. It's multiple choice, but whichever you choose, I want you to write the whole thing down. Which question should you ask for every home that you show? Is it A, what are the restrictions of the property? Is it B, how long has the property been on the market? Is it C, can you see yourself living in it? Is it D, is the home within the client's price range? I'm going to repeat it again. Which question should you ask for every home that you show? Is it A, what are the restrictions of the property? B, how long has the property been on the market? C, can you see yourself living in it? D, is the home within the client's price range? Make sure you wrote down your entire answer that you selected. And again, a thumbs up whenever you have your answers. Great. Let's go to the next one. Question number 4. What is the follow-up question to what you selected for number 3? What is the follow-up question to the answer you selected for number 3? Thumbs up when you have your answers written down. Okay, still need some time, no worries. Okay, remember to put a thumbs up when you have your answer written. Only see a few of us on my end. I think we're waiting for a couple. There we go. Okay, let's keep it rolling. Ready? All right. Number 5, you're more than halfway there. Do we give the clients MLS sheets? Yes or no? Do we give the clients MLS sheets? Yes or no? Number 6, every time you leave a home, you leave by A, ranking all the homes that are viewed, B, choosing only which home is the top home, C, determine the attitude of the client. I'm going to repeat it again. Every time you leave a home, you leave by A, ranking all the homes that are viewed, B, choosing only which home is the top home, C, determine the attitude of the client. Number 7. Number 7, how many homes should we show each client? 2 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 7, or 9 to 10? Again, how many homes should we show each client? 2 to 3, 3 to 5, 5 to 7, or 9 to 10? And our very last question. When is the right time to argue with a client? When is the right time to argue with the client? Okay. Now, here's what we're going to do. For every single one, as we go through, I want you to put a check or an X if you got it right or wrong. But most importantly, I want you to write down the correct answer, because at the end, we're going to tie it together very harmoniously. All right? Number 1. What is the first step before you show homes? The correct answer was D, set expectations. Because if you set the expectations, verifying the funds, picking out homes, scheduling showings, everything else is going to be easier if we've set the expectations up front. Okay, we're going to go over what that looks like after. Number 2, what are the 3 options for your client for every home that you show? Now, normally I would pester each of you to tell me your answer, but for the sake of time, I'm just going to tell you what it is. You might have even gotten something similar, but here's the truthiest truth. Ready? The 3 options for your client for every home that you show is that they can purchase, they can have a high level of interest, or they can eliminate. Those are their 3 choices. They can purchase, again, make sure you have it written down, have a high level of interest, or eliminate. Number 3, what question should we be asking for every home that we show? The correct answer is C. Can you see yourself living in it? Because after all, by the time that we get to the property, we should already know the restrictions, how long it's been on the market, and whether it's in the price range. We should not be determining that once we're there. The only thing left to determine in the property is, can we see ourselves living in it? All right. Number 4, the follow-up question to can you see yourself living in it is likely not what you think. So many times I hear people say, are we writing an offer? But what happens if they said no? Here's the answer. The appropriate question after is why or why not? And just so y'all know, that's going to completely change how many properties you show. Because if you can hear why not, this property feels too small at 1,300 square feet, we should no longer be looking at these other properties. You tell me why this is, that's what gets us into offer talks, because you keep telling me, reliving why it's important. You're going to milk this part of the conversation of why or why not in as much detail as you possibly can. This is what's going to save you time long term. Let's go to number 5. Do we give the clients MLS sheets? Yes or no? Great news. No matter what you wrote down, you're right. Yes and no are both correct. But here's what I'm going to tell you as the disclaimer. If you decide to give them MLS sheets, make sure that it's the client-facing version. You don't want any listing agent's information on there. But more so, I'm sure some of you have had the pleasure of working with ornery clients. Yes or yes? Yeah. And you know the thing about some of our ornery clients is that if you give them too many details, they get lost in the sauce. Now they're looking at this one has 0.01 acreage more, and look at this price per square foot instead of this. They're no longer experiencing the home. They're looking at the stats. So I recommend, especially for individuals like that, that you would instead put the property address and a series of lines underneath so they can write their own notes, and the next property address and lines so they can write down their notes. This way, if they have additional questions, they can reach out to you, but they're really feeling the home instead. All right. Let's go to the next one. Every time you leave a home, number 6, you leave the home by, this is the one that I see the most split answers on, but the correct answer is you only choose which home is the top home. And you know why? Ranking all the homes that are viewed, they're not buying their top 3. They're going to look for the one. And in very rare instances, you might be working with an investor who's looking for 2. Great. But in 99% of your transactions, they're looking for 1. And you are in the business of helping people make choices. Make no mistake about it. And since you're in the business of helping people to make choices, we are always keeping the 1 at the forefront of our mind. Which takes us to number 7. How many homes should we show each client? The quote unquote correct answer is 3 to 5. But I'm going to tell y'all right now, the top agents that I'm working with across the country are doing 2 to 3. That's how much upfront work they're doing. And I'm going to tell y'all, you might on the inside disagree with something like this, but how many times have you heard one of your leads say, was it that house or that house that had the blah, blah, blah? And they're getting confused and muddled with too many choices. That is not in your client's best interest for you to continue to show them tons of things. So in a situation like this, the language that I encourage, you want to look at 10 properties, you want to look at 20. I love that you're the type to do research. And so I tell you what, I've seen in the past around house 4 or 5, what happens is that we start to confuse properties from having seen so many. So what I'd like for us to do is start with the top 3 that we are most excited about. that mostly align with what we're looking for. If for any reason those top 3 don't work out, we can continue with the rest of the list. See how that's not telling someone no, that's looking out for their best interest. Let's go to the next one. Again, we're going to wrap this up at the end very harmoniously on what this script sounds like. The last one. When is the right time to argue with a client? Everyone say it with me. Never. Never. Friendly reminder. Never means never. Means not when your client wants something that doesn't exist. I'm not going to argue now. Doesn't mean that when they call me at a bad hour, I'm going to start arguing. There is a difference between talking with someone and arguing. And accountability is a love language, and arguing is putting someone on the defense. So I want to remind you, there is a whole different collaborative feeling. And I bet if you were reflecting on your own past experiences, sometimes the people who ghost you, it's because you disagreed with them. It's because you argued that something about what they were looking for wasn't the case. This goes back to people wanting to work with who they like. There's a whole difference between me telling Ken, you're not going to find a 3-bed, 2-bath that's under 300,000 in this area. And there's a whole different conversation when I say, well, Ken, if you want a 3-bed, 2-bath at 300 in this area, I see a lot of them. And in this area, I tend to see 3-bed, 2-baths around the 500,000 range. Now, one of those likely has more flexibility for you. Which one of those naturally are you more drawn to? See how I didn't argue with him? See how I presented him with choices? Never argue means never argue. Which brings us to our beautiful, harmonious script. Are you ready? I'm going to pretend that Ken is my lead. This is how we say this in the driveway. Ready? All right, Ken. For every property that we look at today, we're going to have 3 choices. We can purchase, we can have a high level of interest, or we can eliminate. Now, obviously, this property, as we begin, is our number 1. And I'm going to ask you 3 questions for every property that we look at. The first one is, which home is your top home? Now, as we look through this one, we have no other choices. But when we go to the next property, I'm going to ask you again if that becomes our new number 1. Because I know we're not looking for our top 3. We're looking to find the one. The next thing I'm going to ask you is, can you see yourself living in it? Which means I want you to picture coming home here. I want you to picture holidays here. I want you to picture, and you're going to purposefully voice the things that you know they're into. If Ken works on cars, I'm going to say that. I want you to picture tinkering on cars in the garage. If I know that Brandy gardens, I'm going to say, I want you to picture gardening outside. Whatever the vision is that you want them to experience, you purposefully voice those things on that question. And then third, I'm going to ask you why or why not. You ready? Let's get started. Here are all of the pros about this package. Even if you have already mistakenly gotten to past 10 showings with someone, it's never too late to bring in this method. To say, Ken, since the other 10 that we've looked at haven't been working, here's what we're going to do. Moving forward, for every property that we look at, we're going to have these 3 choices, and I'm going to ask you these 3 questions. The next perk to this is, how many of you have done one-day showing agreements? Show of hands. Done a one-day showing agreement? Okay, some of us. Here's the deal. Do you think that your leads have had this experience with someone else? No. No. What you're doing is providing a luxury experience, which means if they've been with someone else, they're going to think it's weird that that person didn't invest the way you did. The last person was like, the closets look big in here. Okay. But in addition, if they look with someone else, they're going to be thinking of your questions. They're going to be thinking, why isn't this person asking me? That is what helps them to be tied to you. It is that level of professionalism and luxury that makes a difference. How many of you have heard luxury is not the price point, it's the experience? The difference is that a luxury agent could make an experience feel luxury in a $300,000 price point, but the difference is a $300,000 agent can't make every $1 million home feel like luxury. It is the service that you provide. That is what separates you. Okay? Now, friendly reminder, I just poured as much information as I could to tell you how to move people along. Is knowledge power? No, it is not. Knowledge is not power if it goes nowhere. Knowledge could be lovely in theory, and if you don't apply anything, you'll be in the same spot. Some of you in this room will end up getting off the call staying in the same place because you didn't use what you heard. Application is power. You want to do something different for your 2026? You want to have a better holiday season? You want to be able to stop saying no or stop looking at the check or stop worrying? You start to be the type to implement when you hear things. Because no matter who I am listening to, if I am giving you my time, I'm going to walk away with something. And I want y'all to be the same. I'm going to tell you this, and then if we have any time for questions, it's a deal. But the thing that I always leave by saying is do not wait for something to happen. Go and make it happen. All right? It's been my pleasure being with y'all today.
Nikki Pais, everybody, thank you so much for being here today. You are world-class for sure. All right, do you have a couple minutes for questions at all?
I sure do.
All right, excellent. Anybody want to put their hands up and ask some questions? Justin, you just put your hand up. Pop in and ask a question there, my man.
Actually, I was just clapping. Thank you very much, Nikki, for this valuable thing. You have, I'm sure we'll have a way to get in touch with you afterwards. I guess just look you up on Google. You're probably there.
Yeah,
let's do that. Let's do your Instagram and do all that stuff, Nikki.
I'd recommend following me on Facebook and Instagram. I post objection handler videos, conversion tips all the time. So if you want more ways to change your business, my name is Nikki Pais, and you can easily find me on Facebook or Instagram. On Instagram, my handle is Nikki the Writer, hence the obsession with words.
Thank you very much for that.
Yes, sir. Anybody else?
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks, everybody. We really appreciate you being here. I will give everybody access to the recording of this after the fact, and it will also have some notes attached to it too. If you missed anything, I hope you took great notes today, but if you did miss something, we'll have them in the notes for you so that you can go back over all the wisdom that you were presented today. So Nikki, thank you so much. We really appreciate you, and we will chat with you shortly.
Thank you for having me. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.
All right.